Hello world, welcome back to another TryHackMe challenge video. In this video, we're going to be going through the REvil Corp room. Let's get started. So this room actually involves using FireEye's Redline software, and what that is basically another forensics type tool, kind of like Autopsy, right? And it just parses out certain types of data and makes it more easier to read. So let's go ahead and dive into the scenario real quick. One of the employees at Lockman Group gave an IT department the call. The user is frustrated and mentioned that all of his files are renamed to a weird file extension that he has never seen before. After looking at the user's workstation, the IT guy already knew what was going on and transferred the case to the incident response team for further investigation. You are the incident responder. Let's see if you can solve this challenge by using the infamous Redline tool. Happy hunting, my friend. To start your investigation, open the Mandiant analysis file in the analysis file folder on the desktop. And it does note here that loading the Mandiant analysis file may take 2 to 3 minutes. I already did this for us, and I'll just show you what I did really quick. All I did was open up this desktop folder right here, and that'll bring this up, and then you can just double click this since the extension is already recognized by the Redline software. And it'll open it up in here, and then it may say not responding, but don't fret, it's just loading and it just takes a while. So let's go ahead and get started with the first question. What is the compromised employee's full name? Okay, well, let's go ahead and go to users here, right? Because that's a lot of times when you define a user, it'll tell you what the user's name is. And right here, we have a username that just is straight up John Coleman, right? So that's going to be our answer for the first one. What is the operating system of the compromised host? So that's easy to find too. Up here we have system information, so let's go ahead and select that. And if we look down here, we'll see that our operating system is Windows 7 Home Premium 7601, which is the build number, right? Servers Pack 1. So we're just going to copy all that and go ahead and paste it in there. All right. What is the name of the malicious executable that the user opened? You have to think like the user here, right? So where would the user most likely open a malicious executable? Well, it'd probably be something they downloaded from the internet, right? So let's go ahead and check out the file download history and see if it doesn't come up with anything. And if we look in here, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and full screen this. That way we can just see it better. All right. So here we have 2 executables. And if we look, we have Tor browser, which could be malicious, but most likely that is the actual Tor browser. But then we have WinRAR2021.exe. And that seems kind of suspicious, right? WinRAR is a valid archiving tool, but the way this is named is not how WinRAR actually downloads, if you've ever downloaded WinRAR before. And I've downloaded WinRAR before, so I know what the setup, right? Or I don't think they have a portable executable version, but they might. I know what that looks like. It does not look like that. So that's going to be our answer, right? WinRAR2021.exe. All right. What is the full URL that the user visited to download the malicious binary? Include the binary as well. Well, all we have to do is copy our URL here, right? And we're not going to want to type that all in, so we can click the show details here, and we can get the full source URL right here in this details window. This will be useful later on, because that's going to give us more information for answers we need for some of the later questions. Now we need to find the MD5 hash of the binary. So all we have to do for this one is actually just go to this file location in the file system. And lucky for us, there is actually a file system category right here where we can actually navigate through the file system just like we can in Autopsy, right? It's a little bit different, obviously, because you can check which ones you want to view, or all the different directories you want to view at once. Let's just isolate it to John's downloads, right? Because that's what we're interested in. And we can go ahead and uncheck that. And here is just John's downloads, right? If we look here, we'll see our WinRAR 2021 executable. And all we have to do now is click show details again, and you'll actually see the MD5 hash for it right here. Now, they could have done this the service of actually, in the file download history section, actually having the hash there for us, but they don't. So we had to come into the actual file system to find it so that we could pull the hash for it. But this is just an extra step that we had to take, so nothing too difficult. So let's go ahead and paste that in. All right. What is the size of the binary in kilobytes? Okay, so that's going to be in the same spot, right? In fact, it's actually in the size column right here. So we could just pull that, but it's easier for us to copy and paste it from here, right? So it's 164. All right. What is the extension to which the user's files got renamed? So we want to focus our search on the user's files, right? So where would most of the user's files be located usually? It'd probably be in either like documents, desktop. So let's go ahead and like check all those. We'll keep downloads checked. Maybe some of these others, but let's go ahead and just check some of these others real quick. And what we're looking for again is what the extension to which the user's files got renamed. As you notice, the extension's quite long, so it's something very non-standard. So let's take a look and see if there's anything suspicious looking in the extensions. Now that looks like a weird extension, and there's a couple here on his desktop, right? So let's go ahead and isolate the desktop real quick just to get a better view. And we see that there's a long extension here, and that's probably our answer. That does not look standard at all, and it's tacked onto valid file extensions. So that's definitely not something that should be there. And that's actually very common with ransomware, right? Where they actually encrypt or manipulate files in the systems. That way you can't access them, right? And then this extension change could be a byproduct of whatever ransomware was run on the person's machine that this image was taken from. Let's use that. All right. What is the number of files that got renamed and changed to that extension? So we want to know the count of the files that were changed or modified to the weird extension. So Redline has a nifty way of looking at change and modifications through its timeline. All right. And we want to specifically, once it finishes loading, of course, it will take a second. But basically, we're going to deselect all, and then we're going to check modified and changed once this finishes loading. Okay, so now it's finished loading, and we can finally check our modified and changed boxes, right? Because we want to know how many files were changed and modified to the weird extension. And then what else we can do is we can also, in the summary, right, we can actually filter by a contains value or one of these other ones, right? And we want to look for that weird extension, right? And I think I still have it copied from last time. So we'll just paste the extension in, add the filter, and we'll see how many it comes up with. We'll see the answer is 48, right? Because down here shows how many results came up in our search, right? So that will be the answer to that. What is the full path to the wallpaper that got changed by an attacker, including the image name? Okay, so this one's a little tricky because the wallpaper could be anywhere and it could be anything, and we don't know exactly like what image file was changed. So we need to do a bit of a deeper dive into what this malware could be, right? And what it does. So why don't we take the hash, right, that we have before, and why don't we go ahead and open up a virus total and do a search on the hash. Now, obviously, this is The results came back positive for, and it looks like ransomware, right? I'm seeing a lot of ransoms here. So this is, like I kind of hinted at before, this is ransomware. So if we go to the community tab, we'll see even more posts about it being ransomware, right? Like ransom, and it's got other names for it. We'll leave virus total open in case we need it in the future. But let's go ahead and look up what it looks like it's calling it Soda no Kibi and REvil. Okay, so let's just Google what the REvil malware does, right? REvil ransomware, rather. So let's check out Wikipedia. After an attack, REvil would threaten to publish the information on their page. Happy blog. REvil attacks. Okay, so this gives us a little bit of history, but it doesn't really tell us what it does. So we know that we're looking for something to do with image files, right? So why don't we tailor our search to image files? Let's go ahead and check out this first one here. And REvil, also known as Soda no Kibi ransomware, was first identified on April 17th, 2019. It is used by financially motivated Gold South Field Threat Group, which distributes ransomware via exploit kits, scan and exploit techniques, RDP servers, and backdoored software installers. Okay, so, yes, this looks like the nitty and gritty of what we want. So if we scroll down, we'll actually see something that talks about, see here, configure background image with text, check for a command line, la la la. Aha, change desktop wallpaper. Most ransomware, right? Whenever it infects your computer, there's always some message it displays at some point that basically tells you, hey, you need to do this in order for your files to be unlocked, right? And it's usually set up with some kind of Bitcoin system where you pay the Bitcoin amount and they unlock your files for you, or the attackers unlock your files for you, right? And they don't always do that, right? Or sometimes the Bitcoin link expires and then you're kind of just screwed at that point, right? Because once the ransomware is infected, like a lot of times it affects not just your file system, but it'll infect your hardware as well. So you pretty much, most of the time, have to just get a completely new machine or motherboard or storage device, whatever, right? So this change desktop wallpaper is definitely what we want. And if we look through here, it puts a bitmap file in our C users app data local temp file. All right. So why don't we go take a look at that directory and see what we get. So we'll go back to file system, uncheck desktop, check app data. Actually, no, not app data. What was the app data local temp? Okay, so we want app data local temp. Here we go. There's a lot in here, but we're specifically looking for a bitmap. So we'll do a file name filter on .bmp. And we've got two here. Two potential candidates here. And so if we look at the answer format, it wants the full path to the wallpaper. So most likely it's this hk8.bmp, right? Because it changed the wallpaper. And also, if you look at the size, right, it looks like it's putting other things into it because, or it could be putting other things into it because this bitmap image is several times larger than, the original bitmap image. And you can kind of tell that the John Coleman.bitmap was the original because of the time it was created, right? So not only is this one bigger and really has data embedded in it, or other things embedded in it, it was created about 42 minutes after John set his background image. So, or not created, but, well, yeah, created and replaced John's background image, right? And we can actually go back to the timeline and see that for ourselves, that change, right? Or we know that it would be modified during that time. So let's go ahead and copy that. I think I might have already done that, actually. Yeah, I did. All right. The attacker left a note for the user on the desktop. Provide the name of the note with the extension. Okay, so if we go back to the desktop for John, we will see nothing. Oh, right, I gotta clear the filter. This is probably the message right here, right? You see the weird extension right there at the beginning, and it says readme.txt. That's probably going to be the message that John looks at. Now, if we were in autopsy, we'd be able to read that message, but it doesn't look like there's a way for us to read this message or look at the data in the file. So it's unfortunate, but we can only assume that this is the message that was left for John. So it wanted the name of the note with the extension. So it just wants the file name. There we go. The attacker created a folder links for United States under C users John Coleman favorites and left a file there. Provide the name of the file. So let's go to John Coleman's favorites, right? Let's go ahead and uncheck that. We're looking for a folder in favorites that the creator made. So it's either going to be links for the United States or links. It's going to be one of these files, right? It's going to be one of these that he created. Now, we don't really know which one it could be. I mean, the only way we're going to be able to know is by looking at the answer format and seeing which file was left there. So it looks like it's this gobierno.usa.gov.url, and that does look sus, right? What is gobierno? So that makes sense that is the file left, just because of how suspicious it looks. And I don't need the whole path, I just need the file name. All right, there's a hidden file that was created on the user's desktop that has 0 bytes. Provide the name of the hidden file. All right, so we're gonna go back to the desktop. And we're gonna look at files that are 0 bytes. So there's this .lock file and there's the same .lock file. And if we look at the attributes, it says hidden, right? So that is definitely the file we want. So not only is it on the base desktop folder, it's also inside that finance folder. The user downloaded a decryptor, hoping to decrypt all the files, but he failed. Provide the MD5 hash of the decryptor file. Well, if we look at this same desktop, right, there's a decryptor executable file right there. I don't know how more obvious that could be, right? So we're going to take that and, oh, right, sorry. We got to do the MD5 hash for it. We're going to take that, paste that in. All right, we're almost done. In the ransomware note, the attacker provided a URL that is accessible through the normal browser in order to decrypt one of the encrypted files for free. The user attempted to visit it. Provide the full URL path. Okay, so along with this file download history, we have browser URL history, so that's what we're going to want to take a look at. And here's how we can do this, right? We're obviously going to want to filter, of course. And we'll probably go ahead and sort this alphabetically just to make it a little more readable, right? And we want to filter out things that it's not going to be, right? So I see a lot of Microsoft in here, and I see a lot of Tor project. We know it's not that. Yeah, here's Bing. So we want to filter those out. Now, the weird thing is, at least in this version of Redline, you can't stack negation filters, right? So, and here's what I'll show you what I mean by that. So in here, right, there's does not contain, does not equal, does not start with, right? You can't stack those. So we can't do multiple filters that say do not contain, right? But the contains stack just fine. So it's unfortunate, but we're going to have to basically just filter out one of the ones we know it's not, just to consolidate the list a little bit and go from there. I think I saw a lot of Bing, so let's just filter by Bing. Or sorry, we want to do not contain or does not contain. And there we go. So now we just gotta sift through and see what file looks suspicious to us, right? So if we scroll down, we'll notice there's actually a decryptor.top, and that's spelled just like that decryptor executable, right? So that's probably the thing that we need to find, right? That is probably the URL that we want, or that he clicked on to attempt to try to decrypt one of his files, right? So we'll try that. And that was right. Luckily, sorting it alphabetically, we didn't even need to filter out Bing because it was close to the top of the alphabetical order, right? Or of how we ordered it in the list. So, okay, what are 3 names associated with the malware which infected this host? Enter the names in alphabetical order. So now we can go back to virus total. We saw earlier that the virus is referred to as Sokinobo or Sodinokibi, and I believe it also said REvil. Yeah, REvil. So that might be 2 of the ones we need, right? So let's go ahead and type those in. Oh, well, hang on. Let's see. So there's a 5-letter, there's another 5-letter. So REvil is 5 letters. And then that looks like the length for Sokinibi, right? So Sokinibi. Sorry, Sodinokibi. And then we want REvil. And then there's one more we need. So there's another place we can take a look at this malware at, and it's called any.run. So what I'm gonna do is do any.run REvil. Take a look at the first option here. And any.run is just another, it's like a malware executing sandbox, right? Where you can just run malware inside of a sandbox and test it, and it's gonna look for malicious activity. It's gonna show you IOCs, you know, indicators of compromise, all that good stuff. And it keeps the log of that, obviously, that you can go back and search through in their database. So we just Googled it just to kind of get to it faster. We could have gone to the tracker and looked for it, right? But it is easier to just Google it and find a cached entry for it, right? So we see here that this is the Sodinokibi virus, and it is ransomware. And it is also known as REvil, okay? And Sodin. And Sodin is 5 letters, so that is probably the last one we need. And that was right. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell to turn on post notifications. Check out our Discord server and Patreon links in the description box down below. And leave any feedback or questions in the comments section down below. This is Almond Milk. Thanks for watching. Goodbye, world.